Hello friends, neighbors, John, your Whiskey Neighbor here. Welcome to the Nook. Saturday, and I thought I'd talk about a couple of scotches. So both of these are core ranges. I was going to say core entrance ranges, but actually there's a lot of non-age stamp Glen Morays you can get into. But we've got a a Speyside 12-year-old Scotch over here. We've got a Lowland 12-year-old Scotch over here. So I think I might have said, hey, it's Lowland versus Speyside. In some ways it is, but really I feel it's some tasty single malt Scotch, reasonably affordable. And how do they compare? So if you've got any 12-year-old Scotch, but I'd stay away from peated or Isla, that kind of stuff right now. Let's look Speyside, Highland, Lowland, well, any program. And come back, I'll talk to you about Glen Moray, 12-year-old, and Glenkinchie, 12-year-old single malt Scotch. 3, 4. Thanks for coming back. I thought I'd start with Glen Moray, and the reason for that is the Glen Moray 12-year-old Scotch is released at 40%, and I try to start lighter and end a little heavier. Not that 43 is a lot heavier, but I thought it would be a nice place to start. So this Speyside single malt Scotch carries the name Elegant Heritage. It's the 12-year-old, released at 40%. And from what I can gather, it's been aged entirely in ex-bourbon or American oak. I will say my experience with Glen Moray has not been exhaustive, and it's really been in their entrance range, their non-age stamp. I have often used those bottles as a way to look at, okay, take a core Scotch and then finish it in sherry, or finish it in Chardonnay, or finish it in port, or like they have a number of releases and they're all very affordable and can really help your palate understand what finish does to the same essential Scotch. This you pay a little bit more for, but at 40%, I imagine it's colored and chill filtered. Still very affordable, but you definitely pay more. In my neck of the woods, about $10 more, $10 to $15 more than any of those entrance Scotches. So what's this 12-year-old like? Let's talk the Scotch. It's sweet. It's light fruits, a little floral. More not floral, fragrant. Like it actually is a nose that comes up pretty quickly. As I said, sweet and light, full of fruit. Some vanillas. I'm struggling to find some oaks or some spicing in that point, but a fairly nice, approachable nose. Straight on the palate. Gotcha. Palate follows the nose. It adds a little bit of caramel, a little bit of light oaks, some structures there. Malt. So malt grain wasn't the first note, but now it's kind of playing around. The early finish is giving a few more light spices, a little bit of peppering, but like a white pepper. Trying to sip. Follows the first. Maybe a little more graham cracker, a little more, and a little more spicing, a little more. What would that be? Allspice, something like that. Something not too heavy. So this is a nice dram. It's very approachable, good flavored, reasonably priced. Checks a lot of boxes, except for the whiskey connoisseur, it needs a little more ABV. It needs to be colored non-chill filter to give better mouthfeel and get a bit more character going on. But in terms of a starting Scotch, an entrance Scotch, easy to keep on the shelf, I like it. I have no problem with this malt. I probably wouldn't give it more than about 3.5 stars, but it's nice. It's a nice 3.5 stars, and I can enjoy it. We'll see as I get further on. I'll start to think of, will I replace it? Right now, it is a little more just another Scotch on the shelf and doesn't stand out. But not bad. Coming over the Lowlands, There's not a lot of lowland distilleries around. This Glenkinchie is part of Diageo's classic malt range. You might have seen it in that. And it is, released at 43%. So it's nice to have a little bit more ABV. As far as I know, it's still colored and chill filtered. But my experience of Glenkinchie has been quite limited. It's used in a lot of blends, but in terms of single malts, this might be the only Glenkinchie that I've had. So that's kind of interesting. It's just outside of Edinburgh, and I think it's called that, the Edinburgh Malt, something like that. So it's got a little more, I don't know, interest or difference in it, just in packaging and marketing speak, than the Glen Moray. In my neck of the woods, it's similarly priced, probably a couple of bucks more, but often goes on sale to be very, very similar. So let's try the Glenkinchie 12 Lowland single malt. This is 43%. Not as sweet. There's still some fruiting in there. Oh yeah, this is lighter, fragrant. I was gonna say floral again, but it's not really floral, but it definitely, whereas this is a little more light grass. Yeah, little bit of honey, a little bit of potential citrus. Right now, I don't know if it's citrus, but it's a little sour. Yeah, this is definitely a more savory nose up front. A little more of that lemon tea, that's what's going on in the nose. Let's try it on the palate. Sláinte. It is more citrus soured, malt grain. Echoes of earthy, could be like a light peat experience, a light smoke. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that. It's actually well, get another sip and see if that comes to me. There it is. I'm gonna say, and I've seen this tasting note, but that's probably why it came back to me, but a light soot, like a little light, it must be lightly peated. I really wish that their websites would celebrate what's going on in terms of, is there light peating in here? What's the casking type? I know nothing about the casking here. At least they celebrate all American oak here. From the palate, I'm going to also say just ex-bourbon bites more bitter, not bitter in a bad way, but bitter, just like, sometimes I love bitter beer. And that's kind of what we got going on here. A little more bite, a little more soot, a little ash. There is a lemonness, a sourness. The fruiting on the nose, which was like a berry fruiting, really changes in the palate. Another sip. So where the Glen Moray has a lot of general appeal, a lot of soft edges, good fruiting, light nose, bit of spice, but just enough to go, there's some structure and some oaking. This could be a malt that would appeal or put off. For me and my palate, it appeals because of that character. Yeah, it's a little bitter. Yeah, it's a little sour. But that's part of its character, and that soot and ash, and like, I don't want to say fuel, but it's got a little bit of a pine. I think they use pine washbacks. I can't imagine that's really having that much of an influence, but it's got a little bit of that resin, fuel, soot, ash, bitterness, which is okay here. It's nice. It's well presented, and so I kind of like this. I think more people would not like this. Like, this in general wouldn't spark anybody, but wouldn't put anyone off. This is a hot cold. I could definitely see people going, what is that bitterness in my scotch? I don't want that. So fair, you've been warned. For my palate and my interest, I like the character, I like the interest. It's like a 3.75, 3 3/4 kind of thing. And If these were exactly on the shelf, same price, I would lean toward the Glenkinchie. What do you guys think? Have you had both of these particular malts? And in your taste and palate, what are you thinking? What's the better one? Thanks for joining me here. Hopefully I'll get some more time this weekend to keep talking with you guys, but I appreciate you coming in. Take care.